All was well in Kamala land, and it was about to get even better. In 2014, at the ripe old age of 49, just in time for her next political step, she married a wealthy lawyer named Doug Emhoff. As stepmom to Emhoff's 2 children, she began calling herself Mamala. Kamala easily won re-election as Attorney General. Then, in January 2015, Senator Barbara Boxer announced she would leave office. That left the door wide open to Kamala, by far the most prominent Democrat in the race. Not only that, California had recently changed its laws so that the top 2 candidates in an open primary would face each other in the senatorial election. That meant for the first time, no Republican would appear on the final ballot at all, meaning that Kamala only had to be the most popular Democrat in the state to walk into the Senate. All the stars were aligning. But Kamala would use her final few months as Attorney General to polish her left-wing bona fides. In April 2016, she targeted David Daleiden and Sandra Merritt, pro-life activists who had the temerity to report on the selling of baby body parts by Planned Parenthood. Meanwhile, she was touting Planned Parenthood on her own website. As Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of Susan B. Anthony List, said, quote, "The fact that Ms. Harris is seizing private property of a pro-life California activist who has exposed horrific practices conducted by Planned Parenthood, which donated thousands to her last campaign, while her Senate campaign promotes and defends them, the nation's largest abortion provider, is a conflict of interest and abuse of government power." Daleiden stated, quote, "This is no surprise. Planned Parenthood's bought and paid for AG has steadfastly refused to enforce the law against the baby body parts traffickers in our state or even investigate them, while at the same time doing their bidding to harass and intimidate citizen journalists. We will pursue all remedies to vindicate our First Amendment rights." In May 2020, Daleiden filed suit against Kamala for civil rights violations. No matter, Kamala's 2016 Senate campaign was a wrong. It required no serious campaign infrastructure, given that no Republican was running against her. It also required no discipline. As The Atlantic reported in December 2015, Kamala was, quote, "the Senate candidate driving Democrats crazy." According to The Atlantic, quote, "one stay, one hotel, $1,886. That's how much Kamala Harris's campaign spent this March to put up the California Senate candidate at Washington's luxurious St. Regis Hotel." A review of the Harris campaign's Federal Election Commission reports reveals it was far from a one-time splurge. In June, the campaign spent $1,500 to house Harris for a night at Houston's posh Houstonian Hotel. In July, it was another night at the St. Regis, this time for $1,600. In Chicago, it was the Waldorf Astoria. In Boston, the Four Seasons. And on 4 occasions this year, Harris's campaign paid for rooms at the pricey W Hotel in Los Angeles. The total price tag for these first-class accommodations, almost $18,000. Campaigns typically shell out big bucks on media buys, staff salaries, and expensive fundraisers. But spending it on housing, particularly when far cheaper options are available, is atypical, campaign veterans say, and even Harris's fellow Democrats have taken notice. But Kamala Harris was, in her own eyes, a star, and she deserved star treatment.
Kamala's for our schools.
Kamala's for affordable childcare.
That's Kamala. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris for Senate.
Kamala's bad campaign habits didn't cost her anything in 2016, but they would come back to bite her down the road. For now, though, Kamala's star was on the rise. Kamala Harris had gone from California bar failure to California senator, from Willie Brown's lover to Barbara Boxer's seat, and Senator Kamala Harris had her eyes on just one target: the 2020 presidential election.